the rookie. He's been making plays on punt coverage, so you definitely need to give him a shout-out because we haven't mentioned him in all the shows. It's usually Matthew Slater making all the big plays, but King has definitely been involved.
Yeah, he's been a guy I've noticed a lot making good plays, so thank you for noticing that, Josh, because there was a tweet about him, and I was like, oh, who's that? But I have noticed him in a few games, so yeah, we got to give him a little bit of love. Guys, I'm not going to predict this. I'm not going to predict this game because the last 4 times I've been wrong. So you guys can do it if you want to. I'm not even gonna say anything. So Josh, what do you think about it?
I think New England will pull this one out. I might probably will be wrong, but I think New England will play good enough to win this game, and I don't think we're gonna see the same mistakes we saw this week. But then again, I could be completely wrong. I'll say New England wins 21-17.
You're going to Houston. You're playing a desperate team that has an awful lot on the line here. Plus, they've still got division games left to play after they're finished with the Patriots. They've still got one more with Indianapolis. So the teeth of their schedule is right in front of their face. It's hard for me to believe that the Patriots lose 3 in a row. I just don't see it happening, even with the injuries that this team still has to deal with. They're getting some people back, which is a good news. Amendola, Collins, so forth. I do think the Patriots rebound and probably win this game. I'd say 27-17.
The Patriots haven't lost 3 games in 212 consecutive games, so a little gee whiz stat.
Well, I think going on the road is certainly something that, that's the part of the schedule that I think is the other part that we need to discuss. The Patriots finished the year with 3 out of their last 4 on the road.
That's true.
And there's a reason why. With the National Hockey League bringing the Winter Classic to Gillette Stadium, it's the reason why the Patriots will finish with back-to-back divisional games on the road. So this is an interesting part of the schedule that I think the Patriots were hoping that by the time they got to this part of the schedule, that their situation would be clearly defined. Unfortunately, the past 2 weeks have now made that muddled.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes for a very interesting month of the season. Usually the Patriots are at their best in December, and maybe they'll be at their best come at the end of December when they get all their players back. But at the moment, I can't with confidence say that the Patriots are going to be at their best with the guys that they have out there on the field. Not to disparage the guys who are out there giving it their all and giving it their best, but when you're missing Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski, Dante Hightower, when you're missing guys like that, I mean, it's like a Pro Bowl roster you're missing with just 3 players that I just mentioned. So you're missing a lot of production out of your guys, and you can't go out there and expect to not compete, but you can't go out there and expect to do what you normally do without your guys, and that's not an excuse. It's just facts. So it's going to be an interesting month.
I do think, however, Jack, what Patriot fans have come to believe is that even when they don't have their top bodies on both sides of the ball or either side of the ball, that they still figure out a way to win. And I think that's what's been disappointing about the past 2 weeks is that they haven't found a way to win.
What were you going to say, Josh?
Oh, I was just going to say that on Twitter just released Jeff Triplett's crew is going to be officiating the game in case anyone wanted to know that, a little detail.
Well, I find it interesting that the NFL is now putting out to Twitter what officiating crew is going to get which game. I'm not necessarily sure that that's a wise idea.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that, Josh. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, these guys should be nameless. We shouldn't have to, figure out, oh, this ref is a good ref. This ref is going to be a good crew. Again, NFL has so many problems in it. But I guess, again, that's what you get with Twitter. Everybody wants to find out everything instantly. And so thank you, Josh, for that. That just got me even more riled up.
I guess my curiosity with this would be, why would you even allow these? I mean, if you're the NFL, why are you providing this information so that it can be put out there?
It is interesting now. I think about why would they want us to know.
Exactly.
Maybe it's because of the outrage. I think fans are more wanting to know what's going on, and the NFL really has no choice.
So that means that when the playoffs come, we're going to know who the officiating crews are for each game. We're also going to know who the officiating crew will be for the Super Bowl in advance of that game. I'm not sure that that's a wise way for the NFL to go here. I think that they need to keep this information pretty much to themselves for as long as they possibly can.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So before we get out of here, on Sunday, the Patriots were saddened to learn of the loss of former running back and return specialist Matt Herron, who died in Chicago at the age of 67. He signed with the Patriots in 1973 after 2 seasons with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the CFL. And luckily we have somebody who I'm sure has watched a lot of Patriots games over the past 30 years in John. So well, I want to know what your memories are of Matt Caron. And in a short time with the Patriots, it was actually, I think, 2.5 years with the Patriots. What did you think of him?
He wasn't here very long, and those, unfortunately, were during the dark days that, Shaq, you mentioned at the beginning of the program. Those were the dark days of the Patriots back there in the early 70s and through the middle 70s and so forth, when the Sullivan family was the owner of this football team, and struggling as they were to try and keep things together. Mac was just one of those guys that was a contributor to this team. Was his skill level great? No, he wasn't a great player by any stretch of the imagination, but he was a guy that would consistently go out there on a Sunday and give you what he had. He was a running back that didn't have lofty stats by any stretch of the imagination. He had his moments, and he also had his moments in special teams as well. But unfortunately, when you remember guys like him and the time frame that he was here, unfortunately what you remember is the bad teams that he played on. And unfortunately, he really did play on some really god-awful teams that if you were to go back and look at the footage, you'd be pretty amazed at what this franchise was at one time. It certainly doesn't possess the glory times or the glory days that it does now. Back in those days, it was slim pickings, as they say.
Yeah, I'm just reading some of his stats. In his first season with the Patriots, he led the NFL in kickoff return yardage with 1,092 and broke 8 Patriots return records, with totaling 1,839 all-purpose yards in 1973, which was second to O.J. Simpson, which is, we know how good of a running back he was. The other stuff I won't talk about. The legend grew when he finished ahead of Sam Van Cunningham, his team's leading rusher, with 824 yards and 7 touchdowns, also leading the team with 38 catches. I guess reading this, a guy we could compare him to of current Patriots is maybe Dion Lewis. Would I be wrong in saying that?
I don't know if you'd be wrong saying it. I think the offenses were completely different, based on the coaches of now as opposed to the coaches when he was here. The emphasis in those days was more on the running game than it is now. And so his ability, his numbers really would have been based on the fact that the NFL in those days really was a much more of a running league, much more of a between-the-tackles league, a ground-and-pound approach than it is nowadays. It was not nearly as wide open by any stretch of the imagination. Even for those teams that were good, they still, for the most part, played the game between the tackles. And, if you go back and look at footage of those days and those Patriot teams and compare them to what you see now, it is completely night and day difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just love to watch some of those games in the 70s and the early 80s, even though there probably weren't good games to watch, especially for those of you who were there and watched the games at Sullivan Stadium and later Foxborough Stadium. I'm just very curious to watch some of those games, but maybe in the future. Right now,
I'll say this: getting to Sullivan Stadium and getting to what would eventually become Foxborough Stadium, that was a very difficult place to get into. It was a very difficult place to get out of. At times, it would take you hours to get out of that stadium after a Patriots game, regardless of what time that game was played. 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it didn't matter. It was quite an adventure to get in that place and get out of that place. And for those people that now get to go to Gillette Stadium on a regular basis and who may not have any idea of what the past was like, it may not be a bad idea from time to time to give your mind the opportunity to relive what was there before Gillette Stadium arrived.
Yeah, it's quite a difference between now and then. I haven't been to Gillette in about 10 years, I believe. The last time I was there, I know Patriot Place wasn't there, but I went up there. I went up there for the Raiders game in 2005, so it's come a long way. I'm pretty sure about that.
I mean, I can remember the days when there was a harness track that was right next to what was then Foxborough and eventually Gillette Stadium.
That's amazing. See, this is why I'm glad to have you, John, because both of me and Josh could not talk about sitting on cold benches and stuff like that. So I'm just glad to have you on to be able to talk about these experiences.
My first game, I can tell you for honest to God truth, my first game seeing the Patriots in what was then Foxborough Stadium was against the LA Rams, and the fearsome foursome was still in business.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy, man. I love it. All right. Well, guys, that's about it for us today. I've pretty much worn myself out talking with reminiscing. So, well, by the way, rest in peace, Mini Mac. I really appreciate you. And so rest in peace,
I would
Mac.
expect that the Patriots, when they come home to play Tennessee, I would expect that they may have a bit of a moment for him, because he does deserve it, despite the teams that he may have played for. Still, and even a different owner at the time. Still, I would expect that when they play Tennessee, that a bit more of a mention of him may be made.
Oh, no doubt about that. In fact, I expect it to happen because, a guy like that who has all those stats that I just rattled off, he deserves that and more, I think. So before we go, let's do some housekeeping. Next week we're going to talk about the Tennessee Titans game, and maybe we'll be lucky enough to. There's a special Titans fan out there who I think he won't remain nameless. Maybe I'm going to try to get him. His name is Ralph Garcia. He's all of our bosses for here at NGSC Sports. I'm going to try to get him on next week and see if we can rap about the Tennessee Titans, and I'll get my Marcus Mariota jersey and burn it in front of him. Maybe that'll make him happy. So that's next week. But for now, as far as we're concerned, you can follow us all on Twitter. I'm at AtomicDog22. And John, where are you at on Twitter?
It's Radio Deucet is where I am, and yes, I do use that device from time to time to find out what's going on.
Yeah, I'm surprised when you pop on and you hang out with me. Josh, where you at?
Joshin_me, and that's where you can find me at on Twitter.
And you can find the show page at Facebook.com/Flying Elvis Faithful. We've actually hit 1,000 likes on Facebook, so thank you all so much for all of your likes. And our last show was the most listened to show we've ever had, so thank you all so much for your support. We really, really appreciate it. And especially I want to shout out this one commenter on Facebook this guy is really devoted. He's from Samoa. I hope I don't butcher this name. Is Chito Ayupo Tonamapia. I hope I pronounced that right. So the next show page, the next post we post about the show, hopefully you'll post as well and correct me after I butchered that name, because I know I did. So all of you follow us on Facebook. You know where we are. We post everything having to do with the Patriots from all the different websites. So make sure you give us a like, and because 1,023 of you have. So we really appreciate all the love. Thank you all so much for listening today and always. We hope to bring you all the Pats news. If you haven't listened to any of our shows, make sure you listen to it on NGSCSports.com, as well as all the other great shows here at NGSCSports.com. I recommend you listen to the NGSC West Recess with Josh and Jerome Butler right here on Wednesday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. And Jerome also does his Black Hole Brigade at 9:30 Eastern right here on NGSC Sports. So there's a whole lot of shows that you need to listen to here on NGSC Sports. But until then, for John and for Josh, I'm Shaq. Love, peace, and go Pat.
Good night.